So, as most of you know, Ash and I trekked with our dog and cat 3,200 miles, driving all the way down to San Diego and back, and there's lots of pictures on Facebook in terms of Yellowstone, all the different places we visited. It's gorgeous. We had a great time, and Ash graduated ministerial school down there. So when we arrived in San Diego, we were staying at a place that was about 3 blocks from the beach. And so, as is my custom, I get out of the car, the first thing I want to do is walk. And so I walked to the beach, and the way it was set up there, when you get to the beach, it was actually a bluff about 100 feet above the beach. And while I was standing up there looking out, I noticed 2 groups of surfers. You know, there was a group over here, and they were pretty far out waiting for that big wave. And there was this other group over here, they were closer in, and they were having way more fun because they were hitting waves all the time. Right? And when a big wave came, some of these folks even got themselves out to ride that too. And I thought to myself, don't we do that? We get opportunities coming at us like waves, and if we're in this group, we let a bunch of them pass by because they're not exactly right. They are not the perfect opportunity, so I'm going to let that one go. Where this group over here, they're having all the fun. They're just taking the opportunities as they're coming at them. And the waves. And I was just thinking about how isn't life like that? How we think that maybe you can only get one opportunity, but in fact, it isn't like that at all. I mean, you know, quantum physics talks about everything being waves. Well, if it's waves, it's moving. Waves don't stand still, right? So they're coming at you all the time if you can see them. But then we miss some of them. And a lot of it has to do with the way we're societally set up. Like, for instance, you know, there's this Eminem song called Lose Yourself. Lose yourself in the moment. Don't let it go. You got one shot. One shot, your chance to blow. Opportunity comes once in a lifetime. That's the last time you'll be hearing me try to rap. But it's not true. It's not true. You don't just get one shot. They're coming at you all the time, but if you have a headset where you think, oh, I blew it, that was my shot, and I blew it, then you miss all the other opportunities, the waves of opportunities that are coming at you all the time. Right? When I was somewhere between 18 and 20, I was in a bookstore, and there was this small book there that said, all the 10 reasons you don't get to have your dreams. And each one was a level, right, that you had to go through to get to the next level. And the last level to get through, it said, was opportunity. That if an opportunity comes and it distracts you, it can distract you. A really good opportunity can distract you from having your dreams. And when I was that age, I bought into that. I thought, oh, that's really true. I got to watch out for those opportunities. And now I look back on it and go, thank God I didn't. You know, one of the things that happens when you do 97 different jobs is you get really good at interviewing. Right? And that was a skill that really has helped me throughout life in taking opportunities. And I noticed the path that got me here to the most perfect and fantastic job I could never even have imagined was a route that took me in all kinds of places that was nowhere, you know, this was not a direct line. That it was all the opportunities I took that I kept grabbing at and trying, that led to the level of experience that I now have around life, that lets me see what I see, so that when I'm standing up here, I'm not talking to you from a book, I'm talking to you from what I went through. Which makes it, in my opinion, way more powerful in terms of what I'm presenting and what I get to say to you. So I'm saying, if you got waves of opportunities coming at you, take them. And don't worry about the ones that didn't work out so well. Don't worry about it. There's going to be another shot. And so I'm thinking about all this as I'm looking at these surfers. And on Sunday was the graduation for Ash. And so and I had been voted by the graduates to be the keynote speaker. And I'd been preparing a speech all week for what I was going to say. They said, keep it to 10 minutes. And so we come walking in, and I find that I'm the only other person besides the dean sitting on the stage. Everybody else is sitting out there. And the first thing I noticed is my heart's going like this, right? And I'm going, and it was funny because I said, what's going on? And then I thought, oh my God, I'm nervous. I get up here every week in front of you guys like I'm in my living room, right? Just talking to people. And there I was sitting there. Well, Christian Sorensen sitting right there. He's a buddy of mine, but he's also one of the icons of our movement. Sitting next to me is Dr. Kathy Hearn, who was the spiritual leader of our entire movement for 10 years. And my mentor, and I was nervous. And then a bunch of ministers sitting out there, and I'm like, wow, I haven't experienced this in a really long time. And so I worked on calming myself down. I do breathing exercises. I'm sitting up there. I know how to calm myself down. So I'm calming myself down, and the next thing that happens is Kathy gets up, and they said 10 minutes, so I only had 2 points to make, and she gave one of them right there. and then the other thing is being the nonchalant guy I can be, I never asked where in the ceremony I talk. So I had no idea when it was going to be my turn. It's my fault. I didn't ask, right? So I'm sitting, and so every time Kathy got up, my heart would start racing again. Is this the time, right? But instead, she again talked about my point. And then she did it a third time, and I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I don't want to talk about that now. I need a new point. And I'm standing up on stage, right? And so I'm sitting up on stage, and I'm sitting there, and I'm going, okay, I need another point. So I get one, right? I talked about the awakening consciousness as my second point, which is something I love talking about. But I didn't get a chance to rehearse it all week. And I was nervous. So when I got up there, I did not do the job. I did not deliver it as well as I could have. Right, I didn't have my water sitting right there, yeah. So the thing about this is I was so grateful that I had spent that time up on the ledge looking out at the surfers, thinking about the waves of opportunity, because what happened is when it was all said and done, instead of going, oh my God, I blew it, I went, I'm going to do better the next time. And there's going to be a next time because it's my intention to have a next time. And the waves keep coming. Now, it may not look exactly like that, right? It could look completely different the next time. But I got to be in that space and got to just walk myself through what I would have said differently, how I would have said it better, not in a way of beating myself up, but in preparation for the next time. Right? That's what's possible when you're looking at things from a infinite divine standpoint. When you look at things from a place of course, we are the power in our lives. We get to create it. We don't blow anything. We just get better and learn what we need to for the next time. And then the next time comes along, and we're going to miss it if we're still looking back on, God, we blew that one shot. That's all we had, and I blew it. I didn't go there at all. It was cool. It was really fun to go, okay, this is my topic. I'm going to bring it next time because now I know what I'm going to talk about and I know how I'm going to say it. I know what I want to have in there, whether I get 10 minutes or whatever. And so it was very empowering instead of disempowering. Can you feel the difference, right? If you're standing there going, oh, God, I blew it, how empowering is that? Instead, you're sitting there going, okay, next time I'm going to get this. That's empowering. And that's what's possible, when we're willing to sit in that space of this is an infinite world in which we are powerful, creative, spiritual beings. We put forth what is ours to intend in our lives to create. And so we get to have that. And the more we get in touch with our soul's intention, right? The more we are flowing with that place in us that knows what it is that is ours to do. We don't have to have a logical thought of it's going to be this way or it's going to be that way. Just follow what you're nudged to do next, and it's going to sooner or later lead me to being on another stage where I get to deliver the speech I wanted to deliver. You'll get to do the thing you wanted to do. And it doesn't even matter how old you are, right? There's this movie about that with Dennis Quaid, and it's a true story about a baseball player, a pitcher. And when he was in the minor leagues, he got a couple of shots at the majors, but because he really couldn't throw faster than 86 miles an hour, he really didn't do very well in the majors and wound up as a high school baseball coach. Well, in the meantime, one of the things that happened that got him out of baseball was that he threw out his arm, and it turns out he had a surgery on it. And unbeknownst to him, it tightened his tendons in a way in which he had no idea that if he wanted to throw now, at 46, he could throw a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. And he didn't have a clue about it. This is a true story, right? So he makes a deal, so he starts pitching to his high school team to help them become better hitters. And the catcher is noticing that what he's catching is heat. I mean, it's hurting his hand. He's like, this is no 86-mile-an-hour fastball that I'm catching here. And so he starts bugging the coach. He says, you really need to try out for the majors because you got a way better fastball than you think. And he's like, it's just a kid, right? I'm not listening to this kid. But then the whole team gets together and says, I'll tell you what, if we win the state championship, you got to go try out. And it was a far shot that they would win the state championship. They'd never been that good. But now they were doing all their practicing, unbeknownst to anybody, of a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Right? They're doing all their batting practice off a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. So when they get up in front of all these high school pitchers, they're killing them. They're just knocking the ball out of the park all the time. And they win the state championship. And then it's this guy's turn. And he's 46 years old. And he's like, I don't want to go to those tryouts. That's crazy. I'm 46 years old. But he made a deal, so he goes. And the scout for the Texas Rangers recognizes him. Weren't you this kid who used to, and he's like, yeah. And you're here to try out? What are you doing here now? And he's like, I promised the guys I would. And so then he gets out there, and they got that scope to see how fast he's throwing, and they see that he's throwing a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. And the scout comes up to him after. He goes, I call home office and I tell them there's a 46-year-old guy trying out that I think you ought to look at. They'll think I'm crazy. But if I don't tell them about a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, I'm fired. So his dream comes true and he gets to play in the major leagues for 2 years at 46. Long after anybody, he was a rookie. The movie's called The Rookie. Right? Because he's a rookie at 46. And he would have never thought to do that. You have things in you that you may think you're too old, you're too young, whatever's going on in you, there's more to it. If you're nudged, do it. Don't talk yourself out of stuff, right? Have you ever talked yourself out of something? No, I can't do that. I know I got this nudge. I can't do that. So Catherine gave a great talk last week, didn't she? That's right. I watched that talk and I thought it was killer, right? I thought she did great. See, here's the thing. When I first got here a year and a half ago, I went up to Catherine and I said, listen, I would really like it if you talk once in a while. And she said, no. She said, I'm done with all that. It's too stressful. I don't want nothing to do with that. Luckily, her husband said, all right, well, you could talk 3 times a year. Come on. And she was like, all right, I'll do that. Right? And then I wound up in the hospital last year. So she had a talk. And then a couple weeks ago for Mother's Day, right, I got a fever on a Saturday morning. She didn't find out till Saturday morning that she was talking on Sunday. And something shifted for her. Something that she wasn't even thinking about shifting. It wasn't even on her radar. All of a sudden, a deeper sense of trust, a deeper sense of knowing, of faith, kicked in to where she wasn't stressed. She got up here and did that thing on Mother's Day. It was a killer talk. Do you remember that talk she gave? With a day's notice. Imagine if she would have stuck with her no. She wouldn't have had the experience of being up here and noticing that this doesn't have to be stressful. The growth, the expansion, the new way of being in the world that she gets to have now because she was willing to say yes to the opportunity that came. In a way that maybe Catherine didn't even know was coming along, right? Who knew that if you get stuck on a Saturday to do a talk on Sunday, that what you got to do is trust? And that can, come about. I told you guys about what happened with Richie Havens at Woodstock, right? Where he had to make up a song right there on the spot. When he was all out of it. For those of you who didn't hear that story or don't know, look it up if you get a chance. It's an extraordinary thing. This guy, Richie Havens, who opened Woodstock, ran out of material, and they said kept playing, and he had to make up a song in front of 500,000 people. And did it. And it became iconic because he trusted. He took that opportunity. So what opportunity are you going to take with the waves that are still coming? When's the last time you said no for reasons that only your mind could come up with when your heart really wanted you to say yes? And if you don't think there's any opportunities coming along, I'm here to tell you they are. And if you ever forget that they are, go watch a video of the ocean. I'd say go look at the ocean, but that's a little hard from Edmonton. But you can get on and you can look at one. You can look at those waves that keep coming, that keep coming, that keep coming. That's life. To your very last breath, the opportunities will continue. To your very last breath. That's how it works. We are in an ever-expanding universe of infinite nature. So what makes you think at any point, at any time, you're limited? You just don't know. The thing I talked about down in San Diego, as I was saying, was the awakened consciousness. I believe, this is my personal belief, that I am now sharing every chance I get, like now, is that there's no such thing as good and evil. There's only asleep and awake. And that we have the opportunity, and any of us who have had even a moment, an event, a single moment of wakefulness, knows this, actually knows this, because when you're in that space of awakeness, there is no separation. There's nothing else going on except the one. When you are in that moment, I'm not saying it lasts, but then you have that. You have that moment, that opportunity that then you can bring into any other moment that you're dealing with. You can go, well, maybe I'm not feeling that awake right now, but I know it exists. And so when you're then in a moment where you're not fully awake, where you're not feeling that oneness in the same way, you can go, well, at least I know that that's what's really true, not what it is I'm seeing in this asleep state. Because it isn't just what we call evil that's asleep. We're asleep if we see it as evil. We're asleep if we're seeing anything outside of the oneness that exists. And this is how I know the trueness of this, okay? The side effects of an awakening consciousness are more love, more kindness, more compassion. These are the things you actually feel as you awaken. I have never met in my life or heard about or read about a single awakened person who started a war. It doesn't happen. That's not what happens as we awaken. And the more we can be here in an awakened state, when we go out and we're interacting with the world, we interact with it in an awakened state. And then what's happening is we're not fixing things, we're transforming. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, spoke about that one of his favorite people was a man named Aurobindo. And one of his sayings that Ernest Holmes loves, that I love, is that transformation does not rectify, it transmutes. Transformation does not fix anything. Fixing is what we do when we're in an asleep state. We want to fix things. But then they break again. That's why every time we stop a war, another one starts. That's what happens when you just try to fix, instead of recognizing that transformation is what's called for. For 100,000 years, we have been trying to fix evil, thinking we're good, instead of transforming life itself. When we are awakened, we know this. I know it. Any chance I get to have an awakened moment, I remind myself of the truth of what it is we have here, the truth of the transformation that is possible, the truth of the oneness that is in each and every one of us. I take every opportunity I can for that awakeness state. That's why we teach the spiritual principles here, spiritual practices here that we do. So that you, all of us, because the more we experience that, the more we take it out into the world, the more we interact from an awakened place. And I'm here to tell you that if you are seeing somebody else as wrong, as evil, as anything other than yourself, you are asleep. That is not awakened. In an awakened state, you see the oneness. You see that they are asleep. And then the only thing you want to do at that point is support them in any way to awaken. Because they're sleeping. We all spend a lot of time sleeping as we walk around with our eyes open. But if we can remember what that awakened state feels like, even if we can just remember it, we can bring it in a little more each time into our day. Take those opportunities, as many as come at you. Every single time those waves are happening, you have so many opportunities to awaken, to bring forth that which is yours to bring forth into the world for transformation. All these things. Each and every one of us, every moment of every day. Never think your opportunities have ended. They're coming at you to the last breath you take. I love you. Thank you.